URI means uh, unique resource identifier. It is similar to URL. Think of it like URL that you have. Okay, it will tell you where you can access the server. What is MongoDB? MongoDB is the server that you are running. You remember we used to run this command uh, for running the MongoDB server. It is similar to that command. There are some Mongoose options that you can send to speed up the process. It's not required. You can directly do away with this, but yeah. You can do mongoose dot connect. You can connect to URI mongoose option. That's all there is to do to connect to the server. What is MongoDB? MongoDB is just a variable stored in the server that you have created. It is similar to the command that you used to run the MongoDB server. Okay. Does that make sense, Ankit? Does this code make sense? Okay. That's how you can connect to the server. There will be two more commands that you will need. First is to close the database, and the other is to clear the database. Okay. Module dot exports dot close database. This is also be a sync function. Nothing to function, and all it does is await mongoose dot connection dot drop db. Drop the database. Does MongoDB use a hard disk space to store all data? Yes, Nayan. It uses. There's actually a folder that I can show you that stores all the data for your files. Let me see where that folder is. If I go to this PC, C drive, program files, there might be MongoDB. Not here. Let me go back to program files. Node.js, MySQL, MongoDB. In MongoDB, there is a server. Inside this, there is data, and this is where all the data is stored. Okay, all the data that you have is stored in the database. This, if I open this, let me see what happens. I don't have proper app to open this, but if you open it, you will see all the data as it is. Anyways, let's go back to the class. Await mongoose dot connection dot close the connection, and then if MongoDB is running, then you can just do await MongoDB dot stop it, and that's all the things that you need to close that connection. There's also one more thing that you need to do. Sometimes it's not just the close of database. Sometimes you also need to clear the database. So module exports clear database. Okay. In this, you will have async function. And we'll have const collections. Get all the collections on mongoose dot connection dot collections. get all the collections in Mongoose, and for const key in collections, get all the collections, and for each of the collections, you can do let const collection is equal to collections. Connect and no, they're not defined. You are defining these functions. Okay. And you can do collection dot delete menu. This will delete all the things in the collection. And you can keep on doing for all of them. Okay. These are defined by you and you are exporting it for others to use. Other test cases will use these functionalities of Mongo server. Think of it as a utility inside the test. Okay. The test is going to use this. So we can also write exports.connects here. You can write that. That's okay. It will not delete only key. It will get the collection and it will delete the collection. Okay. What this collections is a key value pair of keys and the collections. So the key will be the name of the collection. Here the key will be the name of the collection and value will be the actual connection that you have. Once you get all the collections, you can delete each one of them. You can delete all the contents in the collections. Okay. So you are running the query by the code not from shell. Exactly. Yes, Ankit. Because I don't want to run the query again and again. For all the test cases, I want to run it from the code. I've written exports.connect and all. That should be okay. Now we need one more thing before getting started, which is an interceptor. Okay. So what is an interceptor? Interceptor is basically looking at a function and deciding what is going to be the input and output. Interceptor.js. Let me see if the spelling is correct. Okay. Interceptor is basically a way of module.exports and there are two requests. One is mock request. You need a way of, you don't want to code up the request and response all the time. So we are going to test the collection. We are going to test the controllers, and each controller, if you look at a controller, let me show you one controller. Each controller has a request and a response. You see here, we want some way. Sir, can you shortly go through these three functions once? Yes, I'll go through them. Every function requires a request and a result. And we need a way of creating default request and results for all our cases, so that we don't have to write the same code again and again. And for that, we have something called as mock request and mock results. And we are going to work on them in few minutes. We will work on them in few minutes. Okay. And you also have mock response. Okay. We'll work on these in few minutes. Let me just save this and let me go back to this one. What are these three functions doing? So how do I think about these functions? If I go back to app.js, there's a way I am connecting to the database. I send the database URL and Mongoose gets connected to the database. Then if there is an error, I say I cannot connect to it. If there is open, then connect it to DB. And then I can add whatever data I want to add. Sometimes I add a user which is my initial user, the admin user. And if the admin is already present, I don't do anything. Things like that are happening here, which I'm doing in the app.js file itself. I have created a separate database. Think of it as a separate database, which is the MongoDB memory server. Now, this database is only for the purpose of test cases. It is not for anything else. And for test cases, once you have created this database, you need a way of connecting to this database. Line 11 and 12. These are some Mongoose options that you can use to speed up the process. Okay, it's not necessary. You can actually ignore it. You can comment it out, and you can decide not to send it. But these are extra options that will actually speed up the process. Okay. So that's there. And once you have connecting is very simple. You just connect to the URL that is provided to you, and the Mongoose will get connected. Closing the database is also simple. You just close the connections and it will stop working. And clearing the database is also simple. Go to each of the collections and delete everything in these collections. So that way you can clear the database. Does that make sense, Ariyara? Okay, so that's how you can do. Now let's talk about interceptor. We need a delete many is basically similar to delete many in your Mongoose. You remember Mongoose delete many, and if you don't provide a filter, it will delete everything. Okay, just like find, if you don't provide a filter in find, it is going to delete. It is going to find everything. Similarly, delete many, if you don't provide a filter, it will delete all. Okay, so we have mock request. Let's talk about mock request. We'll have a request variable, and then what you're going to do is request.body. We can do this even though request is constant. We can go inside the request and just dot function dot mock return value of request. Request.param is function mock return value of request. And finally, just give me 1 second. Do you need to install Jest? Yes, you need to install Jest. I'll show it to you just in a few minutes. Okay, so what happens is you send the empty request to whatever function you're calling, and you get back is the body. Okay, you get back an empty body. And when you send a request with a body, what you get back is the parents for that request. Similarly, there's a way you can create a mock response. These are mock responses. These are empty responses which look similar to the database that we have. Okay, so I'll show it to you in more detail. Just give me a few minutes. Create an empty response, and response.send is just where the interceptor comes into flow. If interceptor comes into flow uh, when you're creating the test cases. So in test cases, you need to send some payload while testing the values in the controller. Okay. If you look at the controller, let me show you the controller. Controller needs a request and a response. You are not going to create all the request and response with all the values all the time. You will need you will need a skeleton of the request and the response, and then you can fill in specific values in that skeleton. That is what mock response and mock request provides you. Okay. Mock response is also sending payload. It's not sending any payload. Where is mock response is yeah, it is kind of sending a payload, but it is actually receiving it. So when you send a object in a function, what you send is uh, what you send into the function can be changed by the function. Okay, so this send here can actually change over time. So if you come here, what you do is result dot status equal to 500 dot send is equal to this. So you are changing the status and the send function send values in this object result. Okay. You're not sending it back. You're not actually passing it back, or you're not returning result. You're using it as a parameter and changing the parameter itself. Does that make sense, Abhijit? Yeah, exactly. So you're not actually returning anything from these controllers. You're just manipulating the parameters. What parameters you need to manipulate is what all parameters do you need to manipulate is what we are doing here. Okay. So create the empty values. Okay. Given a function call, it will return us an empty mock result and an empty mock request, which will be in the same format, and all the boilerplate code will be there. So that's how you can create an interceptor. Now we will create a simple test case, and typically what happens is in the test folder, you will have the same three folders as you have in the above. So in test folder, there will be a controllers folder, controllers folder. You will also have a, no, not here. You will also have a models middleware folder, and you will also have something like you will also have routes folder. Okay. You don't have a models folder as such because I don't see a use of creating test cases for models. Model is just an object, so I don't see what test case you will create. Maybe you can create some test case, but I'm not able to think of one right now. Okay, so these are the three folders, and inside each of them, you will have test cases for that particular piece of code. Okay, in controllers, you are going to test that code for controllers. In middleware, you will test the code for middleware. In routers, you will test the code for routers. Let's see how to test the auth.controller dot test dot js. I think that's the one we have to do today. Is this? Yeah, auth controller is what we need to test. We might also have to create the user controller. Let's see if I can create the user controller test today. I don't think I can create it. Yeah. Today we have user controller and an auth controller. I don't know whether I can create both the test cases. If we are not able to create, maybe in tomorrow's class we'll create the test cases for both of them. But let me start with the auth controller. Okay. Okay. So first we'll have const. So I'll have to install just. So I'll just come here and do so npm install npm I just install just into this. I don't have to do save, so that's okay. And let it install just. While the time it is installing just, I can reduce this. And what I need is mock request and mock response. These are two functions, mock request and mock response. I can get them from the interceptor. So all I have to do is require dot slash interceptor. I like the word interceptor. He's like, and you'll have const two things: sign in, not sing in, sign in, and I'll use sign up first and sign in next. You can get them from require dot controllers slash auth controller. You will also need a user model. I'll define that. I have added the test. Let me check. Yeah, that have been added, so that's good. And I can close this now. Just is added. Let me see in the interceptor if it is causing an error. Just is there, so I don't have to worry about it. Now here, you have sign in and sign up. You will also need the user model because you are going to create some users. Require dot models slash user model. Finally, we'll need the pcrypt module. Pcrypt, because you're going to send pcrypt.js. These are all the things that you need to import. Once you have imported these, there are a few things you have to do before starting the test. So first is the const db is equal to require get the db module that we have defined. This db module is what I have gotten. And then you can do something with the db. Before all, what does that do? There's a function called as before all. You're going to call a async function in this. This is going to do await db.connect. It is first. After each of the test cases, before any one of the test cases is run, you need to connect to the DB. After each of the test case has been run, you need to db.clear database. You need to clear the database so that there is nothing left in the DB. And after all, you need to close the database. Now you understand why I have written the previous three functions? Why I had written the previous three functions? If I have to say in the word of internet slang, this is the because. There was a boy, a boy said to a girl, I am crying. The girl said, why are you crying? And the boy said, you is the because. And the girl was like, okay, this guy don't know English. After each clear database, for what? Because yeah, I watched Tanmay Mark's vlogs, exactly. Sometimes I like them, they're very funny. Okay, after each clear database, for what? So clear database, you don't want to be anything lagging behind from the previous calls that you have made. So you want to clear up everything in the database and start fresh every time. If you look at clear database function, it goes through each of the collections and clear them. Similarly here, before doing anything in the database, you want to start with a clean slate. Okay. Now let's discuss some of the basic parameters. Const. Will it clear only key? It will not clear only key. Key is okay. You are confusing two things. This key is nothing but the name of the collection. It is the name of the collection. And once you have the name ready, you can get the collection and then you can delete it from here. Const will have a test payload. I'll just paste the empty payload, almost like a test payload. I'll paste this here. Save some time. This is basic payload with user ID, name, email, some random values are there. Okay. Now there are some functions that are used on each of the functions that we are calling. Now, how do you do? So send it here to the payload. So send it here to, okay, sure. I'll send it. Sorry, control C. Okay, I'll copy the whole line. Paste. I pin this so that you can access it again and again. Let me check what is the time. Okay, we are spot on time before starting off on on the other part of this app, I think I'll take a break. I think this is the best time to take a break. Is that correct, Nitish? Or do you want me to teach for 2-3 minutes more and then take a break? I think this is a good time. Okay. Yeah. Mostly I take breaks based on Nitish timing. Wherever Nitish is fine, I take the break. Is it somewhere in Hyderabad? Yeah, it is. It is not. It is not very cold in Hyderabad. I hear that it is very cold at the mid uh, at the upper parts of India. I'm going back to Bhopal tomorrow morning. Yeah, I'm going to push the changes. Break till 9. Say, what is the time? It should be 14 right now. Okay. I'm going to push the changes now. Added. Let me bring it here. Added. Okay, added TV and interest. Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly. I understand. I understand that, Nitish, and therefore uh, I always make sure that I give you the time before ending the class. Yeah. Sometimes I fail in this, but mostly I focus on this factor. I'm pushing the changes. It will take a few seconds. You can go now. I'll mute, and the changes will happen in the backend. In the I'll make the changes in the repository. You can go for that. I have break right now. I'm back. Hello, students. Are you back?